Greetings, Patrick here for Dollar Theater, the Voters Edition. And wow, what a corker of a week we had. We put up four excellent movies to be voted on, and you guys came through and pretty much surprised me with not so much who won, but how much they won by over 20 points. I actually thought one of the films that I put in there, Session 9, would actually make this a very tight competition, but not so much. The movie that everybody seemed to want to hear me and the Cheetah talk about today is from 2003, and that is Mystic River. Mystic River from 2003. This is the first time I watched this, by the way. I had first time watch. Heard a lot about it, of course. I know that it won Oscars for Sean Penn and Tim Robbins, and it also won, and it was also directed by Clint Eastwood and written by Brian Helgeland, who also won an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay for L.A. Confidential. This is considered a mystery, a neo-noir mystery, set in Boston, Massachusetts. The book was written by Dennis Lehane. He is a prolific writer, and he wrote the story, and Brian wrote the screenplay for this. The cast is absolutely, you heard me use this term before, but it's stacked. Not only do you not have the film being directed by Clint Eastwood himself, but it stars Sean Penn, Tim Robbins, Kevin Bacon, Lawrence Fishburne, Marcia Gay Harden, Laura Linney. Also has a familiar face for us person of interest fans, as our good friend Lionel Fusco, played by Kevin Chapman, has a key role in this movie. And in an uncredited role, we do have a brief appearance by one of my favorite actors, and that would be Kevin Conroy. Kevin, who was the voice of the Outer Limits, and he also starred in the Quick of the Dead, and he made an appearance. Not Batman. Not. I know who you're thinking. It's not him. It's this is a totally different actor. And he makes it a quick appearance. In fact, if you didn't know who he was, you wouldn't probably even recognize him. Also, the same thing goes with Helen Hunt. She makes a very one quick note appearance as well. Wow, this movie, I haven't seen it before, so the only thing I remember is seeing the clip, everybody else does too, Sean Penn's character finding out his daughter has been murdered, and they have found her body, and he's screaming, and he's screaming if that's his daughter down there. It's one of the most infamous scenes or clips that I can think of, and watching this movie again, it blows me away when we think about Sean Penn, that he got his start in a comedy such as Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and everybody thought he was Spicoli, who was so funny and so silly, and yet he really has turned into one of the more prolific American actors of his generation. I think the only reason that keeps him a little bit higher, keeps him a little bit lower on the spectrum of everybody's radar is because his reputation off the camera. He's not really well known as a people person. So, but in this movie, he plays one of three friends. And he plays Jimmy Markham. Kevin Bacon plays Sean Devine, and Tim Robbins plays Dave Doyle, and they're about 12 years old, and it looks like they've been busted by some cops for making a lot of racket around the neighborhood. They show them a badge, and they're asking them questions about where they live at and what they've been doing out there, and so they take away one of the kids, Dave. They take in the backseat of the car, and but they're not cops; they're predators. And they kidnapped. Basically, they have kidnapped Dave, and they have sexually abused him for 4 days before he escapes. He escapes physically from where he's being captive at, but as we find out that he never really escaped at all from what happened to him. So he is a very quiet man, but very, very highly, highly damaged. Um, Sean ends up growing up to be a police officer for Boston. Turns out to be a homicide detective for the state. And Jimmy has he did a little stint in prison, but he has come out and become a figure in the neighborhood. He runs a little store, and people there are very loyal to him. And he's got a small group of friends called the Savage Boys that watch his back. Well, so we see every man, and while Jimmy and Sean are doing okay, we see that Dave is really, really struggling, and in fact he goes out a lot and he drinks, and he's not really home. You know, he dotes on his son, and he comes home one night and he's got a cut hand, and he tells his wife that he has stopped a mugger. A mugger attempted to attack him, but he fought him off, and he might have killed him. He might have self defense a little bit too hard. And that very same night, we find out that Jimmy Markham's daughter had went out and was out there and was seen at 4 different bars, cutting it up, having a great time. What they didn't know, this was supposed to be her last night in Boston, because her and her fiance Brendan were going to elope to Las Vegas the next day, but she never shows up. And so, of course, so the police are trying to find out what happened to her, and they do put a little bit more juice into it than normal, because of the neighborhood and because of Jimmy Markham's reputation. So it does seem to play that he has a little bit of pull, and then we see Sean and his partner roll up to help out. They're the detectives they're gonna try to find out. They're gonna find out what happened to her. Sean is paired up with his partner, Sergeant Whitey Powers, who's played by Lawrence Fishburne. Now, this is the Lawrence Fishburne right here. I gotta say right now, this is the Lawrence Fishburne that I really wanted to see when he played on CSI. This is when he played Wright Langston on CSI. This is the character I wanted to see. Everybody wanted to see him. Very good cop, takes no shit, and has good instincts. I mean, he's just, as soon as you see him, again, he's very, very good. Lawrence Fishburne is very, very good in this movie. Just makes you like, why didn't they just take that character and just like basically transplant him over to CSI instead of just making him such a wimp? So anyway, they find out that everyone finds out that Katie has been murdered. She has been chased. She had crashed a car. Looks like she had been shot once. Got out of that and ran. Unfortunately, the people who are after her were able to keep up with her, and they kill her. It doesn't appear that it was a designed hit. It was just like nobody knows what happened. There could be some suspects. So Sean and Whitey definitely go deep into it, and as they go, they start attention starts going over to Dave, because Dave is starting to crack up, and he tells his wife, she's looking at him sideways, and the thing about it is that Jimmy has married Dave's cousin, or Dave's wife's cousin. Jimmy's wife and Dave's wife are cousins, so they're very close. And the cousin Celeste, she pretty much inadvertently seals Dave's doom by telling Jimmy that he did it. He killed Katie, even though he didn't. Nor would he even be inclined to do so. This, of course, leads to a very tragic ending, because even as Jimmy thinks that he's killing the man who killed his daughter, Sean and Whitey have indeed caught the people who've done it for real. And when Sean tells him that, says, "We got the guys who did it," and when Jimmy says that, and then he figures out when he realizes that what Jimmy has done in killing their boyhood friend, um, he's not too happy about that. And at the end of the movie, he makes he makes no Sean makes no qualms about telling Jimmy that you're next. You're going to go down for this. And Jimmy's like a father, like, what's the worst you could do for me? My daughter's dead. What can you do? How can you hurt me any more than that? And I have a feeling that he'll find that out sooner than later. First time watching this, I gotta tell you, it's moving. It's very moving. It's a tragedy from the very beginning. It's just a really sad movie from the beginning. From the very first time where you see the boy being kidnapped, see Dave, and then you see him. He's just a shell of a human being. He's just traumatized. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that he was able to actually, get married, and you're not entirely 100% sure that his son Michael is really his. You're just really not sure, because we find out that Jimmy had his first wife had passed away, and he had remarried. And he had a wife and 2 kids from a second wife, and Katie was the daughter from the first wife. And so you're just not really sure about that. It's like, did Dave have his son, or was that a situation where his wife had the son before they got together? And you just don't know. All we know is that Dave had just been shattered, and he just was broken. And it turns out that he had tried telling Jimmy the truth, and the fact that, no, I didn't kill your kid. Hell no, I actually killed a pedophile. He had found a pedophile who was assaulting a young boy, and killed him. He did end up killing somebody, but it wasn't Katie. It wasn't Jimmy Markham's daughter. But by that time, Jimmy didn't want to hear that. So there was only one thing that was only one path that they were going to go down to. This is a very strong movie. Very strong movie. Great performances all from top to bottom. Clint Eastwood's usual fast directing comes in here. His great editing. The screenplay, the dialogue, the cast is top drawer. It really is. It's very, very good. You don't get very many casts like this from top to bottom, especially for a big budget film of a 25 to only $30 million. I mean, I was looking about that. I'm looking at the cast today, and I'm thinking, boy, if they were trying to hire those actors, from back then today, or in their prime, oh my Lord, this just wouldn't work. The money would be just too. I mean, they couldn't cast everybody in there. The movie made $156 million. I know that it played a lot on cable, and it was a very popular movie at the video store as well. Sadly, I don't believe Dennis Lenihan wrote a sequel to this. I don't think he did. But it would have been interesting to see what would happen between Jimmy and Sean in the next chapter. How would he have brought Jimmy in? Would he have brought him in, alive, or would he went after him with both barrels blazing? The movie is shot on location too. There is a river called the Mystic River, and it does run through Boston. So there's that. As far as I got this is an early edition of this film. So as you can see, it has a snapper case. So it's not very many special features on here. This was a little too old before they started loading up the special features, but still, this is definitely a movie worth having. Um, Though I will say this, that I read that I just read this weekend that some of the Warner Brothers movies between 2003 and 2006 that have been released, actually 2004 to 2006 that have been released, they're suffering from disc rot, which means that the layers of the films themselves suddenly will not be working. So I don't. It happens. I know. I thought the rot meant that if it was exposure to the elements, but I guess it's just a matter of how many times you play it, and whatnot. I'm not sure if Mystic River got a 4K release or not. I'm sure somebody else will be able to tell me that. But I will thank you very much for watching this and watching this review. And of course, if you've seen Mystic River, we'd love to hear your thoughts about it too. What did you think of the story? Was it a moving story for you? Is it more of a tragedy or more of a mystery? I guess you could call it a neo-noir because it does have a very bleak ending. They are actually going to speak. Kevin Bacon wasn't not exactly the first person they were going to use either. This is back when Michael Keaton was still pretty hot, back in the turn of the 2000s. They were actually going to cast him as in Kevin Bacon's part as Sean Devine. I gotta tell you, I think they made the right call in not having Michael Keaton play that role. I think Kevin Bacon and Lawrence Fishburne were, yeah, they were dynamite together, and you really wish you could have seen them in another movie together. Maybe not the one with Jimmy, but just a totally different story. I definitely would have been there to watch that. All right, well, that's it for this one. We will come up with another 4 films that you guys can vote on. Dollar Theater comes out on Monday, and we are finishing up our trip to Black and White Filmville. Last week we did Dick Tracy. This week we're doing Nancy Drew, Reporter, from 1939. Fun. And then after that, I don't know what we're doing. We'll find out. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.